GM.
Good morrow, fair traveler.
Hello.
On this Web3 Silk Road that we
Are we NPCs yet?
Yes. Double NPC.
Very NPC this morning.
Okay, I'll keep.
Not really.
The Gen Z says that all the time. Oh my god.
What,
are they
NPC?
all gamers? Are they? Yeah, NPC. Are they all? Maybe it's just our industry. Maybe because we're surrounded by these internet degenerates.
I always just hear them say, "On cap, that ish bussin', on God, for real."
See, now though, they've moved on from that. Even saying that in a mocking way is not cool. Like you're not even allowed to be ironic about that anymore. We've moved on to that phase.
I'm not allowed to call things Gucci anymore, I guess, either, right? That's old. That's old.
No, see, that's cringe now.
Is it cringe?
There's like a timeline for slang, right? And it's circular because it always comes back eventually. And the only thing that's been really the steady, just there's never going away is cool. I mean, who doesn't want to be cool? This is a eternal term. Maybe the greatest thing that the Industrial Revolution ever gave us was the term "cool" to describe a.
That's from the Industrial Revolution. Revolution.
Yes.
Cool.
That was post-industrial revolution. Cool. What do you think? King Arthur was saying "cool" to the knights. Cool.
He could be. He might have said maybe that's where bussin' came from. Half the slang from like Shakespeare.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. Oh, that's true. Shakespeare did come up with it. Didn't he say whack?
No, but swag. Swag was.
Swag.
Yeah. Swag was Shakespeare. Swagger. Yeah, I think we shortened this. Swagger. Yeah. Also,
anything happening in Britain?
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say some big news coming out of Britain yesterday. Sad though, the Queen. Yes. Old QE2 passing yesterday. I keep wanting to say the untimely death of the Queen, but she was 96, and I don't think that constitutes untimely.
I mean, you look at her face on your money regularly.
Do I?
The loonie, I believe. Yes.
Queen That's right. Yeah.
I don't even know that. And the monarch of England reigned through 14 U.S. presidents, 8 British prime ministers, including Winston Churchill and Margaret Thatcher. And now we have King Charles III.
See, I thought it wasn't Charles. I thought he relinquished his claim to the throne because he was old and he didn't want to start at because he's in his 70s.
He is older, though he seems to come from good stock. But I will say that there were 2 controversies in his lifetime at which he almost abdicated the crown. And one wasn't really a controversy, but obviously the Diana and Camilla ordeal, where he would have had to abdicate back then when things were a lot stricter, he would have had to abdicate his throne to marry Camilla, who he really loved. Diana was his betrothed. So that was that drama when he came close to abdicating the crown. And then there, of course, were the recent talks of him abdicating it to Prince William just because of his age and not wanting to.
So he didn't actually do that because I remember the conversation. No. Oh, okay. I thought it was like a done deal.
Today at 12 p.m. Eastern, he will be addressing Great Britain, and that would be 6 p.m. Their time. So there is obviously, This turns into a political subject very quickly, as of course we understand that this was a colonial nation, and both Ireland and Black Twitter, as it was called yesterday, celebrated this event happening. And I have no comment either way on the politics, but I will acknowledge the history here. This was one of the longest ruling monarchs in history. And she saw all the most important events that shape every day of your life that exists. So that's very historic. So that's what I'll acknowledge.
Yeah. Betty White, now Queen Elizabeth, two people that we just assumed were going to live forever.
I know. Hey, it's one of it. It feels like one of those years where certain things change that felt like these, always here type of things. And
yeah, we really are kind of getting into that like new world. I don't want to do that like new world order, great reset that people are conspiracy theorying about. Not like politically like that, but yeah, coming out of this pandemic and whatnot, we're definitely looking at a changing world for sure.
Yeah, I think that obviously Vladimir Putin being the age that he is, with supposed health problems we're not 100% sure about. Even in his most recent interview, he was twitching or moving his leg in a strange way that caught the eye of people watching and doctors watching.
Right?
Yeah, and you wonder what exactly, because Ukraine actually made progress yesterday and pushed Russian forces back further into occupied Ukraine and back towards Russia. And on some level, Putin knows this isn't winnable in a classic sense of winnable, so you wonder why a man in his position at his age is doing what he's doing. And when you talk about new world orders and what's happening, and you see a report that came out in the Wall Street Journal yesterday that China's population is now slated to fall by half into 2100, by half. And
population growth.
Yeah. And that is because
their actual population.
Yeah. No, the actual population.
They're going to go to 600 million people?
Yeah. By 2100 because of changing demographics and the amount of people having babies. Remember, for decades, China had a one baby rule. They even removed that to try to help, and it has gotten worse since they've done that. And they're not the only developed nation to face that. We know Japan is the classic example, who has been going through this for a long time. So I think a lot of what you're seeing right now are almost last-ditch efforts by failing regimes to try something. And when they fail, because they will, you will see a relief upon the world that will certainly be reflected in financial markets as well. And I think that we have gotten extremely negative and extremely bearish without an understand. And economics, to me personally, who loves it and has participated in it for over a decade, is a pseudoscience. They give awards for economists that have the best predictions, and those economists are still like 70% accurate during their good streaks, right? Yeah. Like, we're not even talking about when they misread, go cold, and can't figure shit out for a few years, or a certain Fed cycle, or, everyone goes cold. Like, economics has too many variables to predict exactly. That's why we have estimates and markets, and things miss, and things come in hot, and things come in soft. It is too impossible to predict. If inflation is transient, as many people have said, and goes away, next year we could actually be facing deflation, right? That is something that's more concerning than inflation. It's something the Fed has been fighting for over a decade. It's something that I think very smart economists have been pointing out, and why I have been saying since June, the Fed is tightening too far. It's political. It is an optics thing. And next year, we're going to be experiencing that. And if these conflicts we just mentioned about start to abate, as trends suggest they are, then you could see quite the mean reversion in all markets. I think people are starting to notice it now. And these last 2 weeks have been so bearish. For what reason? There was no new info. And if you look at any of the new information that came out, it actually supported a bullish case. We're talking about commodities, the main drivers of inflation, shipping rates, lanes coming down massively, more
Which
than
they were always predicted to do, because we had to kind of watch this bubble kind of move through the post-pandemic landscape of getting people back to work. And when people aren't working, labor becomes more expensive. I mean, it's a supply and demand issue in and of itself, right? Now people are getting back out there. They're getting back into the world. Labor is starting to come down. They're finding more people to work in the ports and the shipping and whatnot, but it was never going to be an overnight process. It was always predicted to be a year to 18 months before some of those prices come down. But a lot of people just have this notion that once prices go up, particularly in commodities, they never come down. That might be the case in some things, right? Like the price of your t-shirt might kind of, just slowly creep up and whatnot. But yeah, for these commodities, for labor forces and whatnot, like supply and demand really does matter. And as supply starts to increase and demand levels off, I mean, the prices just start to come down.
Price of labor is the only constant. Commodities fluctuate all the time. We've had $40 oil and $100 oil twice in the last couple decades, okay? And it's gotten above 100 a couple times. We know it just most recently did. It's the main driver of everything. And I mean, you look at the pumps, it is relentless how fast gas is coming down. I mean, it was a perfect storm that caused it to go up as much as it is. Now, just getting back to the main point here, the Fed is acting like this inflation is sticky. They're acting like this isn't going to go away easily. Now, a lot of us think they are posturing for media, for markets, for credibility. We better damn well hope, because I promise you, if they continue to be too aggressive in their tightening campaign here, they're going to break things. And normally, it's like, okay, you have to break things to tame inflation. That makes sense. It'll be a small recession. We'll deal with it and we'll move on. What if you break things into all of a sudden the face of deflation? You won't be able to lower rates fast enough. Almost the same thing, okay? The same way you couldn't raise rates, at least the perception was you couldn't raise rates fast enough to beat this current inflation. It's going to be the same thing the other way, and it's going to be a lot faster because you take the elevator down. So when the recession that they're going to cause does hit, we better not be facing deflationary pressures at the same time. That's when massive layoffs happen and recessions turn into depressions. So I think the Fed is being absolutely irresponsible to continue to tighten at this point. It's fucking madness.
Yeah, I mean, you seem to be of the camp that they've been doing a pretty good job, and now, but are you just saying like now it's too far? Because I just saw Bank of Canada just increased their interest rates by 75 bips yesterday too, right? Like it's just,
Well, rest of the world is in a very different place than we are.
Europe in particular,
because of our energy and food independence, of course. The thing is, obviously, the rest of the world affects us. We're a global economy at this point. And the only reason our markets haven't just gone absolutely bananas to the upside is because the last 2 weeks, the news cycle has been the people in Europe are going to have to eat each other and use their bones for firewood to keep warm this winter. That's your best case scenario. That is the best
their words, not yours.
Yeah, it's insane how fear-mongering. And look, I understand it's scary. The thing is, when panic sets in and when people get scared, you start seeing predictions and estimates of shit that's never going to happen. And now, over the last 2 weeks, we have set the table for any type of situation that's better than expected is going to cause a massive rally in markets. That the lows to me feel so good. Like that's the thing. There's been a lot of volatility and a lot of chop, but every time it's like those they know the market is a front running mechanism. And when CPI comes in soft next week, economists are already predicting minus 0.1% on CPI. That's the economy.
Month to month, right? Or year
month over month.
Yeah,
yep,
I was going to say.
The year over years aren't going to calm down until next year. It's just impossible because you have the comp of the previous year. So
yes. And that was one thing that really got lost in everything, was that there was this really outlier kind of event with what was going on with COVID. And now when you compare it to the year over year, it looks really, really nasty.
This
But
is what you would call noise, right? Like in a chart, when you're trying to identify long-term trends, you will often remove what is called the noise. You get these 3 sigma unexplainable moves that go outside of anybody's predicted ranges. Nobody could. It throws a bunch of things into whack for a certain amount of time, and then eventually things fall back into the trend, right? It causes a ton of volatility, then the trend resumes. You smooth out a chart by removing that noise. And that's essentially what we're in right now. We are in a very noisy period. It's actually not the bad things that the market is scared of. It's the unknown things. It's uncertainty. And that is one, if you could define this year with one thing, it is uncertainty. We have been our heads turned both ways in both directions 50 times. No one knows what's going on. Transient, not transient, temporary, inflation, deflation. It's confusing. Markets hate that. They don't care if it's good or bad. They just want to know. That's what markets want. And we're getting closer to that. But of course, the Fed is this wild card. It comes down to political pressure. How much of what the Fed is doing right now is about the elections that are coming? I am so curious to see how much the Fed language changes after late October.
Right. I was just going to ask that too, right?
Elections, because Jerome Powell's not an idiot. There's no way they're not. Well, who am I? I'm some guy on the internet. There's no way they're not talking about the same stuff we are talking about right now. These are professionally trained economists. So the market has been down for 2 reasons. Europe, of course, their energy dependence on Russia, and the Fed continuing to say, we are not relenting. Tough talk by the Fed. Are these 2 things? Is Europe going to be not as bad as we expect? And is the Fed language going to change very soon for 2 reasons? One, we got all this data coming up, which we know is going to be soft because it's definitely going to be soft. The only question is how soft now, because commodities have been down so much, it's locked in. It's gonna be so, and this, these unknowns. So those are the 2 factors facing markets right now, and of course, our own personal lovely narrative in La Merge, also known as the merge, for the beautiful Ethereum, which is seeing a nice rise this morning.
Yeah, well, I have the CoinGecko pulled up, and of course, I'm sure we're all aware that ETH is going burr this morning, up 5% on the 24-hour, and finally kind of just getting over that like 1700 kind of hump that we were
1720, big level. It'll digest here a little bit, but yeah, big stuff.
Yeah, and of course, we have that merge narrative that's, I think, been propelling ETH to be on these little rises amongst the crypto slump. Like Bitcoin wasn't doing much. It was down like 6% on a week when ETH was up 7 or 8%. And there were a couple of other cryptocurrencies here and there that were doing all right, but they really did not seem to be relying on each other, but rather just their own personal narratives in the midst of this kind of slump. I think the big thing to be watching for right now is not the ETH run, which, we love, but Bitcoin actually going on a little bit of a tear this morning. And that's interesting because as far as I can tell, there's not much of a narrative around Bitcoin that should be propelling this other than, I guess, the S&P is doing all right this morning too.
Risk on.
Yeah, risk on environment, right?
Risk on.
But Bitcoin is a good leading indicator for the whole market, and you can't deny that. And sure, ETH now probably in that 1A 1B conversation with Bitcoin, one being the leading smart contract platform, the other being, if you want to call it, digital gold or just a store of value, whatever you want to refer to Bitcoin as. They are always leading the market, and now with Bitcoin kind of catching up to the run that ETH has been going on, I don't know, feels pretty good. Feels like we could be in for it with the narratives of inflation softening and some of the certainty coming back into the landscape, hopefully. Yeah. So interesting to see. That was I always love looking at my portfolio and seeing ETH up, but when I checked the overall prices of everything, seeing Bitcoin up 10% made me feel like good that something else besides the merge narrative was happening.
Yeah, and I think you're completely right here, R2. Here's how I would phrase it, right? You're not going to get a clean moonshot without Bitcoin. Like, yes, any coin, and we know ETH is the one right now, can have its own narrative that goes against the market, but you're not going to have a clean up only, everybody's happy and hugging each other rally. If Bitcoin's fucking plummeting while ETH goes up, yeah, the ETH heads would be happy but like ETH 3,000, Bitcoin 17,000 would be fun, but like, is that a very healthy crypto market? It's not as healthy as it could. It's a good thing. And it's as we just said, it's a risk barometer, right? Like the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Especially for people from the outside looking in, right? When they see Bitcoin going down, when the news cycle is Bitcoin's gone down, in their mind, it's not Bitcoin BTC, the ticker, it's cryptocurrency, right? And in their mind, it's like, well, why would I ever get into crypto when Bitcoin's going down, right? Bitcoin's going up, everybody gets into crypto, and then they start being like, oh, there's more stuff I could buy. Oh, this ETH looks interesting. Ooh, Doge, right? But like, it is that kind of that funnel in the hourglass of like get people in, and then there's a world outside of it,
More people know Doge than ETH. Guarantee it. Out in the world, your average person understands Doge more wow than ETH. And
I don't think that would be surprising to me.
No. And I think what will be interesting now is, as basically Bitcoin and Doge are cryptocurrency to most people, like that is cryptocurrency, will the merge narratives start to put ETH in the converse, especially if there were a flip in it? And all of a sudden, ETH was at the top of all those charts. You don't think you're going to have like Channel 6 and what is Ethereum? It's a new type, like they're going to say things like it's a new type of cryptocurrency when,
but you know what they won't be saying soon?
What's that?
That it's bad for the environment.
That is very true, as Polygon came out with their final estimates yesterday that it will be 99.185% less energy usage than proof of work Ethereum.
That's 2 whole decimal points.
Look, and I think that, shout out to Niraj Agarwal, who is our #1 Washington proponent and interface. I forget who he works for, but he is the guy in Washington that fights for crypto on our behalf. If I had to define him, he's a blue chip maximalist. He'll poke fun at smaller coins and especially NFTs and bubbles within the crypto market, and he has to take a more measured kind of view of things, but he's very smart, very sarcastic, very witty, good with memes. But Niraj was pointing out yesterday that in Washington, especially like how the Senate and how everybody is viewing these things and how they're softening, they're coming to the understanding that since crypto is here, how can we best play with it? And almost how is it best for Americans, right? Like it was the 100%. Same thing. It was the same thing with cannabis, okay? It was we're against it, we're this, we're that, it's bad. Now all of a sudden it's the fastest growing industry in the United States, and every senator's tripping over themselves. Well, how can it be good for our states? How can we get those job numbers for our state? How can we get that, like those senators, I forget exactly who it was, forgive me, from smaller states who were proposing no tax on crypto purchases made as long as it wasn't changed into fiat. Like you could purchase things with Bitcoin on the internet or in a store and you weren't taxed on that. This is yeah, go ahead.
Sign me the fuck up. But also like imagine if that were the case, how many people would flock to crypto as an investment, knowing that they weren't going to have to pay cap gains taxes on their purchases if they could purchase in that currency, right? Like, imagine buying $10,000 of Bitcoin, watching it 10x, and now you're looking at, $90,000 of capital gains that's taxable long-term, short-term, whatever, that you can avoid. And now you can go buy that Tesla for basically $20,000, $30,000 cheaper because you didn't owe the taxes on it.
Yep.
That's a
And
lot of money that is staying within the ecosystem that is not being siphoned out via taxable trades, right? Like, and when the money stays in the ecosystem to that extent, it just goes burr.
and those states would reap great benefits because I think, crypto people who are nomads anyway, and
spend money. Finally a good reason to actually spend your crypto.
Move to places like Portugal or Dubai because of favorable.
Not Portugal anymore though. They doubled back on that.
They have. But that's that is it's common in crypto to see people move for that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see kind of regulations start to move that way. And yeah, just very curious to see what these narratives do, because Niraj, when he was talking about this, just pointed out that he doesn't believe that like this mainstream hate for crypto that is often channeled through it kills the environment. He thinks that's just an excuse. And he thinks the people that hate crypto are going to continue to hate crypto, whether it's using 99% less energy or not. They'll just have a different way. And I kind of agree with him. I think in large part, it's the threat to the status quo. And whether your average person would admit or even knows that that's why they're triggered by whatever is going on, that's really what it comes down to. So
let's be honest, we do lots of things on a daily basis that are bad for the environment. Yeah, right? Like, if you look at the amount of usage of energy that even just YouTube has, it's really bad for the environment. The banking system, really bad for the environment. Now, I know you can argue a lot more people use it, and you can argue for its necessity. It's hard to lump cars into that conversation because cars serve a very clear use purpose of like getting people to and from work, to and from their families, to and from activities and stuff like that. And you can't necessarily make that argument for crypto, but I mean, we do and use lots of things that are not very energy efficient, but it's also in the best interest of the free and fair market to make things as efficient as possible. And therefore energy efficient usage is definitely within that realm too, right? Like it's economically incentivized to be as energy efficient as possible. And therefore you kind of just end up moving in that direction naturally, right? Like that's how it works.
You're literally slowing it. The stuff, and I'm sure most of the people involved in it have the best of intentions, okay? And nobody knows it all, and no one thing would solve anything. But the point is, energy efficiency has an incentive, and it's profit. The more energy efficient a business can be, the more profitable it can be.
And that's exactly my point.
So the reason human beings are going to beat climate change is the profit of it. Yes, we should do it for other reasons. Should is a great concept, but the point is human beings seem to be motivated for profit, and we were going to get to renewable energies for that reason anyway. And
I fucking hate the profit shaming part of it too. Like, if it's economically incentivized for someone to figure out carbon capture or figure out climate change or like, make a huge impact, why shouldn't that person be a multi-billionaire or the world's first trillionaire, right?
It's
like you're incentivizing some of the greatest minds in the world to actually work on these problems because they're going to make a very good quality of life for themselves at the end of the day, right? It doesn't have to be this altruistic, like, I'm going to save the world and I'm doing it for free. Like, I'm sure there are some people out there that are like that, but you're definitely shallowing the pool up of people willing to spend that time and energy to do it when, they have to live in a cardboard box while they're doing it.
So whatever was or is here before us, when it was just rocks and elements floating around the universe, it created us, right? And now we were the next iteration of that. Now we're creating machines. That's our purpose. We are here to build it. It's the next iteration of life in the universe. That's obviously what our purpose is. What capitalism is doing is it's funneling the most amount of resources to the people who are going to get us there the quickest. And that is not good or bad. That is a function of the physical universe. Look at how natural order is. Resources pool in the largest places. The largest planet with the most gravity pull in the most stuff. It's the way the universe. By trying to fight it, you are fighting the natural order of things. We are moving in that direction, and the people who make the most the reason we like stuff, the reason we have this thing in us where it's
we do like stuff, yeah,
is because we are all subconsciously moving this thing forward to an eventual melding of biology and machine into the next iteration of life in the universe. This is a Web3 show.
We got real, we got real deep. It just kept going further and further down the rabbit hole. We started talking with Bitcoin, and now we're talking about like basically immortality via machines. Great stuff. On that note, let's shift into Web3 stuff. Some interesting things here. I don't know that we need to talk about all of the topics I had pulled up, but if you want to talk about risk on environments and money flowing around, Web3 investor Animoca Brand raises another $110 million for Open Metaverse. We are seeing a lot of big investments coming into this space time and time again. We talked about Digidaigaku and Limit Break getting $200 million. Obviously, the other side was, hugely backed. The interesting thing about this isn't that it's just another $110 million flowing into the ecosystem. It was who it was by, and it was from Temasek, Boyu Capital, and GGV Capital. These are Australian-based institutional investors, I believe, and I have no idea who they are. This isn't your typical A16Zs pouring another, $50 million or leading around for this. FTX is buying this or spending money on that. Coinbase, yada, yada, yada. There's lots of new people moving into you haven't heard of them either, right?
No, never heard of them before. And think about how many small family offices, smaller funds, and there are so many of these. And what do they normally invest in? They normally invest in things like bonds, stock, private businesses that they can get in on route, all that type of stuff. They are now starting to invest in Web3 in very, very interesting way. And we talk about gaming a lot because R2 and I are part of a gaming project, but I expect huge amounts of VC money to start flowing into this area. And I mean, it's happening. We don't need evidence. This is what is going on right now. And of course, over the last year, many of these marquee investments, even just like Digidaigaku, have been made by people like Binance and Coinbase Ventures and A16Z. But now you're seeing everybody feel a need to have NFT, Ethereum exposure on their books. And I think that trend is going to continue exponentially.
Yeah, for sure. Jiao saying in the chat that Temasek is from Singapore. So, I mean, I've definitely known and interacted with lots of people from Singapore in this space, a lot of people from Australia and New Zealand. Very prominent in Web3 as well. So, I mean, I'm sure these are big names. And if that's where you're from or that's where you're interacting with on a daily basis, they're probably names you have heard of. But it's just refreshing to not see the familiar faces because, we know A16Z is going to be putting money in. We know FTX or Coinbase or Binance Capital, all of that stuff. They're doing it time and time again. But the funnel is definitely getting wider. And we actually had a great chat with John Chen from Metalcore yesterday on Twitter Spaces. And I really liked what he said about looking at just how big the gaming industry truly is when you compare the pool of participants to the pool of participants in just like not only crypto investing, but just investing in general. You know what I mean? Like onboarding that group of people is going to be incredibly profound. And it seems to be well on its way.
This is the most bullish aspect of the merge to me, because I've talked about how, for me personally, if we're talking about medium to long term and not the short term, bullishness or bearishness of price, why is Ether now very attractive to institutional investors? It's because of the yield that is, I was able to say very hard to get for a long time, though the 10-year and 30-year are actually right getting close to that right now. But understand that this has been a very difficult yield to get for funds and institutions that basically beats inflation. Bonds have not beat inflation for a very long time. Inflation trends at about 2%. So institutions tend to look for instruments that yield 3 to 4% for guaranteed yield. And they put very, very large amounts of cash that have nowhere to go in these type of instruments. So that is what's happening now with ETH, is it becomes one of the most attractive yield instruments in the world with very little power usage now and a proof of stake mechanism for these institutions to leverage. So this is where you're going to see that phase come in. And of course, it's going to have the tailwind of regulation, right? These BlackRocks of the world need very, very clear rules before they're going to participate, because they don't want to be sued by the government and risk profits on anything. So regulation's it's the other thing that's coming that used to be scary. And now, given that all the Ponzi and leverage has essentially been washed out of the system, and all we're left with are the legitimate parts of it that scream and crave for level-headed regulations so that they could operate as legitimate businesses. And that's our next phase.
Yeah, that's where all the real big money is sitting, and on the sidelines, just waiting for them to be allowed to do it properly. Speaking of metaverse, this is, I guess, a narrative we probably want to get away from, but the NFT game consultant says poor people could be NPCs. Sounds like being a host in Westworld, but less fun. He basically went on to say people in developing countries could work as NPCs in wealthier players' worlds. This is not a good take by Mikhail Kassar, who was basically saying people in the Philippines could just be used to wander around the streets of the metaverse or work, jobs in them. I don't know what he's getting at here, because like I think you could I think the beautiful thing about the metaverse is that everybody could just be people or apes or I don't know, like snails, little lemons running around like that. I think that's the whole point of this. Not a good take. And
plus in Grand Theft Auto, can't you just like beat a random person on the street?
Yes,
I mean, is this part of the
and
job?
In Westworld, like the whole point of Westworld is like they go and they're like there's these hosts and like they just they get it's fuck. not a good take.
I'm just wondering, why stop there? Why not have these people be the backgrounds and stuff too? Let's dress them up like trees and buildings, and we'll just make the entire video game people.
Yeah.
And we'll employ the world.
Like, what character are you in the metaverse? Oh, I'm 278 Front Street. Like, I'm the building there.
How do we know we're not in that right now? Are the trees people?
What's that? No.
Okay.
But I mean, really, this was just funny. I know a lot of people were poking a lot of fun on this in Twitter, so I just wanted to bring it up. But like, yeah, not a good take. I wonder who this guy's consulting for and how long he's going to last there.
His take, not ours.
Yeah, 100%. Please, I'm not no buying into this one.
The other great take here was NFT game consultant. There aren't even any NFT games. How can there be an NFT game consultant already? Now, that is tongue in cheek, but that was a good joke I saw yesterday on this article. Everyone was tweeting about what's an NFT game consultant and making fun of the term. I couldn't figure out why, and I realized that this article was making the rounds.
For everything that exists, there will be a consultant for it.
Absolutely. There is no bigger let's move.
Yeah. Well, I just love this quote. Kassar told people that players in developing countries could just populate the world, maybe do a random job or just walk back and forth, fishing, telling stories, a shopkeeper, anything is really possible. Lovely. Oh man, this guy, I can't see this guy's career going for much longer after that making the rounds. Queen Elizabeth died. Tons of NFTs, coins popped up. God bless the Queen, but God bless the NFT space for its relentless pursuit of just all things degen, I guess you could say. It was like instant too. Like, people had some of these ready in their back pocket being like, any day now.
Well, it's not even, I would even think at this point you could program a bot to do this, right? You have token contracts that are, you copy an Inu contract, right? One of the popular ones yesterday was Queen Elizabeth Inu, okay? Anytime there is a hot topic, Will Smith slaps someone at the
I forgot about that too, yeah.
All you do is put whatever the meme of the week is, put Inu after it, and launch the token. And I don't know how much the people doing this can net, and I'm assuming it's a numbers game in the sense that they launch 15 of them and hope that one of them catches a bid or whatever. And I'm not sure how much liquidity they provide up front, which is their risk in these type of things. I have no idea. But this happens within minutes or hours of any large global or even national event happening.
It's I don't know. I don't participate in any of this stuff, but like, I don't know, maybe too soon. I guess not.
Well, everything is a meme.
It is, yeah.
Right? And that, if crypto has taught people one thing, it's kind of that, right? That everything is about attention. And when you have attention on something, it can be monetized. And this is the most direct monetization of attention ever. And it's just a game. It's all the gamification of trend spotting, right? That is what I'd say the two main use cases for crypto right now are collateral-backed loans and unregulated casino. And I'm very bullish on both those use cases.
Let's talk about EtherOrcs and the Kongz. I guess collab, was that what we're calling it? A collaboration or a partnership, maybe?
This is something that I think you can use that term very confidently with. This isn't just like a slapped on partnership for name's sake. This is a very cool integration of the CyberKong assets and aesthetics into the already playable EtherOrcs game. So they have now partnered with the CyberKong's collection, given their holders certain types of passes that allow them to play in a few custom dungeons. A couple of these dungeons are in the main EtherOrcs game that any EtherOrcs or CyberKong's holder can play. And then there are the CyberKong's specific dungeons that the CyberKongs are the ones who have. You have to have a Kong, some sort of Kong, in your wallet to have access to these. And it's absolutely fabulous. There are special items like the banana hammer weapon, the Wrath of Kongz you see down there.
I thought you were going to say the banana hammock.
Banana hammer. Yeah. I think we're playing on the name.
Could be,
a little bit there.
Fair.
You can see that this was a well thought out integration into the game. A ton of CyberKong holders are playing, and this is one of the next phases of EtherOrcs. They have a few initiatives and phases that their roadmap is in, and this is one that they've been gearing up for a while, is the partnership phase and partnership dungeons. And CyberKong's being a blue chip or an elite collection, however you want to view it. If you were going to name the top 10 NFT collections, it would be in the conversation every time. That is a really great partnership that they landed. To me, it's a beautiful integration. And if you own a Kong, you don't own any orcs, you should go check them out. And there have been quite a few sweeps on the orcs floor since this partnership was announced and went into effect, as I think a lot of CyberKong or Kong's holders are enjoying the game. It is a very fun, fully functional on-chain game, akin to the type of stuff that our guest on Terrestrial Thursday was talking about that he played early on. Very turn-based Dungeons and Dragon-esque type of games that I think a lot of people in our space right now have good memories for and really enjoy playing.
Yeah, and I gotta say, the presence on Twitter for like EtherOrcs and like Poof and whatnot has like they've really kind of ramped up getting the awareness of their game out of there and just participating in it, and also like shifting the narrative and dynamic. Like they're really going all in on this idea of interoperability and when you talk to them, like it's got to make sense. It's not just like it's got to work for their environment and whatnot. That's really important to them, but also just the theory of, how do you get as many people to play these games as possible? How do you get as many people involved as possible? Because whatever we defined as the standard model 6 months ago, 8 months ago, 9 months ago, it doesn't work, and it was never a long-term solution or strategy in terms of where this is going, right? Like the idea is, sure, you might have 5,000 base NFTs, like EtherOrcs has the 5K of the Genesis collection, and they continue to kind of expand upon that collection via the EtherOrcs. But it's like, how do you get people to actually play and participate and earn or own for people that aren't going to spend $100, $1,000, $5,000 on NFTs and whatnot? And that's where these things have to go, right? It's like getting the biggest player base that possible, built on an actual fun game. And they're really leaning into that narrative. And I think that's important, especially for them as kind of, the first NFT game, right? Like the first proper one. It's got to be.
The first on-chain, Yep.
But like in like proper game, not just like DeFi Risk Protocol that was like Anonymize or those kind of just earn token, mint more, earn more token, mint more, burn. Like just, you're playing the game of who gets in, who gets the biggest bag the quickest, and who exits, right? Like playing a game.
Yeah, totally. It's fun. And this is what they were always building towards. Certainly that GameFi, as we like to call it, phase was their first part of their roadmap, because you had to mint out basically your players, right? And they actually did it in a great creative way that really kept, it was as solid a cook and passive income play as you could have had during the bull market. There were a lot of projects that had the brief hype cycle, and don't get me wrong, made the right people who got in at the right time a lot of money.
Sure.
But Orcs, once the bear market in late November started to abate, and the price of everything came back, and Orcs got back up to 2-3 ETH, and basically remained between 2 and 4 ETH, while Zug stayed between $2 and $3 for the entire rest of the bull market. And it was a fabulous phase. But now they fully recognize that on some level, by cannibalizing the way things were, they were going to be going through growing pains. And the floor price is. But in the end, this is the only sustainable model. And as they roll out the other important initiatives, which I think the most important of which is going to be F2P, or free to play, which every good NFT game project right now is thinking about. How are they going to approach that faction of it? Because it's going to be absolutely integral to successful projects. The NFT portion of the game is going to have to be almost an ownership class that is going to be aspirational, that either you were lucky early or rich enough to get in on it when it minted, or you play up your way from the free-to-play model, earn, say, enough Zug that you'll eventually be able to sell it on Uniswap and buy your own orc. And now, boom, you're in the NFT asset side of the game. So
and those free-to-play players have to want to desire Zug, right? Like the base NFTs release the Zug. The free players are like, oh, this is cool, and I want to continue to play this game. I like it, yada, yada, yada. I need Zug to do so. I can earn it. If I want to skip my process, I buy some. Who are you buying it from? The people who own the base layer asset, the NFTs, right? Good exchange there.
See, this is fabulous to me, right? Because you could argue as a company, okay, like there could be multiple ways you could generate revenue from a video game, like even in NFTs, right? There's the royalties, there's selling the NFT, there's services attached, there's other ways to generate revenue, but the revenue generated from the utility token production part of the game, that's owned by the players. That's owned by the people who own the NFT assets. That's fucking fabulous to me. And I am genuinely one of these people. I hate it anytime I hear someone say P2E doesn't work or it's going to fail. I think any project you could point to that failed for the same reason any game, whether it's P2E or not, would have failed. Demand waned. And what's the main reason demand waned? It's the wrong market right now. NFTs target a very specific person right now. That is the speculator, the trader, the degen. I don't care what anybody says. The majority is in it for the money. Some of these games facilitate that early, but over time, it is very difficult to maintain that without a constant influx of new players. But how is that different than Fortnite? Would Fortnite exist today in the version it's in if new players didn't continue to come into it over the years? No, they would have run out of money eventually, and it just would have been whatever it was. It would have just had to stop at wherever the iteration. Same thing with any game. So I don't think P2E is dead. I think it's going to be a very viable model. It's just we need the constant demand that a great game and an easy onboarding UI offers the average video game that exists in the world now. So, P2E, I don't think it's dead. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's always been a demand story.
100%. And the demand will come from good quality games that people just want to be a part of. And, we're seeing that with a lot of games right now. They're like, yeah, you could play the game, you can enjoy it like anybody else did, but there will be like a checkbox or like, do you want to pull this asset off and put it on chain and actually have ownership of it? Oh, you do? Cool. Well, here's the tool that you need to do it. And, reducing the friction, right? Like if it was just one of those like, oh, I want to play EtherOrcs, I'm saying this in the future because I know you got to do it right now. But like if the step is, oh, I got to get a MetaMask. What's that? Oh, now I got to buy ETH. Oh, okay. Now, so I got to sign up for Coinbase. Okay. Now I got a KYC. Now I got to wait 3 days. Okay. Now I'm going to put the money in. Now what do I got to do? Oh, I got to transfer it to the MetaMask. What? The transaction just took $20 to send ETH? What? Oh, now I got to get to Polygon. Like that's a lot of friction to play a game. And I'm sorry, gamers, most people just don't want to do that. We take for granted knowing this stuff already because we exist in it. And we know how to do those things. We already have crypto in our wallets. We can just press the buy button. For somebody new to get into it, not a good step. Fuck. Downloading a large game can be enough of a burden, right? Like if you don't have a fast internet and you go to buy a game and you see that it's 200 gigabytes or something, you're like, oh God, this is going to take me 8 hours to download. I'm like, maybe I'll do it later. Like that's enough friction to prevent somebody from buying a game. Like all of these steps, no go. So yeah, go.
No, sorry, my friend. No, I was just gonna say the people who are here. I'm sorry, the people who are here now. The game for them is the friction of the UI. Like we love the process. We love everything about the difficulty. It's hard. People. That's the game. The people who want to play games. That's not the game.
100%.
They want the game.
Love it. Oh, okay, cool. I just saw I got hell, that's why Uber Eats exists. Yeah, 100%, man. Like it's their business model is reducing the friction of getting food to you as fast as possible, and they're killing it from it.
Which they don't do a fabulous
job. I don't know. I always have pretty good experience with it. But yeah, I do. I don't know. Maybe it's like small.
It's about distance to restaurant.
I would imagine the city that I live in is a little bit more navigationally efficient too. I don't know.
That's just my number one tip because you hear a lot of complaints about delivered food. Or my number one tip for delivered food is you organize your list by distance, right? Because to me, the most important part is the food gets there relatively close to coming out of the window.
Yeah, the only thing,
like,
the only thing that I don't like that Uber Eats does now is that you can pay a premium to get your order first. Like that kind of annoys me.
right?
Yeah.
Yes, I've
Pay
seen
an extra
that.
$250
Well,
and you'll be first on the list of arrivals, so that it can be like a couple of degrees warmer. Like, oh God, fuck.
Well, I've definitely been screwed by, like, I'm the fifth person on this
I
guy's
just try not
delivery
to look at
list.
the map anymore because, like, you're like, where are you going? You're going in the wrong direction. Fuck.
Oh my God, I lose
Yeah,
my
yeah,
mind.
yeah. All right, last topic of the day, and then I gotta wrap it up. I still got a little bit of time, no big deal. But let's talk about Clonex and this tweet that came up. We actually talked about this on Exit Liquidity yesterday with Drip Cult and Dirty Milk, but I thought it warranted a discussion. And I mean, I guess just in the sake of being a good degen, I mean, I bought a Clonex kind of as a speculation on this. I'm not financial advice or whatnot, but there seems to be a lot of parallels to the idea of LeBron James and Clonex kind of joining forces. Obviously, Nike is the big limiting factor, or not limiting factor, catalyst in this, because Nike owns Clonex. Nike has a lifetime deal for LeBron James worth rumored over $1 billion. The big kind of connective tissue in this whole argument, though, and this is by Clonex Market, not a very well followed account, but puts together a pretty solid case here. Clonex 7968 just had its metadata updated to update the hair to the chosen one crown, which was what LeBron was often referred to in high school as the chosen one, the next iteration of Michael Jordan, the destined to be the best player in the NBA, which obviously came true. But also the mouth trait changed to the LBJ beard, which of course stands for LeBron James. They've definitely updated it to include more of his likeness and whatnot. But I find this interesting. It seems to be really flying under the radar. Obviously did the diligence myself and went and looked up Clonex 7968, and those traits absolutely do exist. This wasn't just a Photoshop or something for some clout trying to get people not actually checking, but looks like a real thing. We talked about this on the show in the past, months ago now, but like, what are the big athletes or celebrities that could jump in and really change the game? We saw Steph Curry jump in from Bored Apes and jump into the Discord, and I mean, really, really, really just push them into a new paradigm. LeBron and Clonex, I mean, that's not a small deal if it is to come true. Like, the writing seems to be on the wall. I don't know. What are you taking of this?
Yeah, no, I agree. My question is, how would Nike and Clonex try to leverage this, or Artifact try to leverage this? Because LeBron James has an incredible mass appeal, and Clonex right now is a very, very luxury item. Now, luxury items in and of themselves are marketing materials because people love to talk about it and aspire to it and hear about it and criticize it if they think it's too much or too whatever it is. People like to talk about expensive stuff. So that's certainly it. But I also wonder, what do Clonex and Nike plan to do long term? Because Nike is a multi-billion, multi-hundreds of billions dollar company because of its $100 and $200 mass appeal shoes, right? So they sell clothing that most people can afford. And my question is, are they eventually going to start selling digital assets that most people can afford? What will those digital assets be worn on? And how it is maybe LeBron now coming into the fold, if that's what this is, and it announces, let's say he changes his Twitter PFP to a Clonex. Is there going to be some sort of down market announcement where you can get $100 or $200 Nike digital shoes, something like that? I don't know. So this is really, really interesting to me. And obviously one of the big, I mean, I try to think in my mind who is more as famous. And I think, if Kim Kardashian changed to a Clonex or Obama, something like that, these would be huge. I think LeBron is right up there. So this is a very, very interesting move. The exact type of thing you would expect to see from the company that was bought by Nike, and the exact reason these things moon so hard.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on with, how is Nike going to leverage this? And it really does come down to the fact that they are not going to waste this opportunity because LeBron James is kind of under their umbrella of, sponsored athletes, right? This isn't just a random, Obama is not sponsored by Nike as far as I know, but if he did it, it would still be a big deal. But I don't know that there would be like as much fanfare from the Nike and Clonex side of it, right? You know what I mean? Like it would just be like Obama purchased a Clonex. Holy shit. This, I mean, they work together. They have deep rooted relationships together that involves a lot of money. They're going to, if and I keep saying if because like I have no idea. This just seems to make a lot of sense. But like if this comes to fruition, like they are going to do something with it. I do think the biggest thing that I started thinking about with this, and it was kind of just King James readies to rule the metaverse. He filed a bunch of trademarks, LeBron for like the metaverse, whatever. King James chosen one, virtual footwear, clothing, virtual basketball courts. Very cool. Great stuff. We've seen tons and tons of companies, athletes, names, people filing those trademarks because they want control over them. And that is just the natural course of progression. So those headlines don't always like move the needle for me. But let's look at who LeBron is. He's in his 20th season in the NBA. It's incredible that he's made it that long and played at the level that he is. But we are definitely in the twilight of his NBA career. LeBron James is very much a legacy guy. What is he doing? What is he building? What is he growing? He is absolutely 100% looking at life after basketball. We know this because he has a huge stake in his own production company where they're producing content, acting in things like Space Jam, being a part of this metaverses game that he's in. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, right? What better title for King James to be than King of the Metaverse, right? Like he's got the following. He's, I wouldn't be surprised if there's like all social media, all everyone that's paying attention to this guy is like in the $500 million range, or $500 million people range. Facebook just changed its name to Meta and is like full steam ahead on developing metaverse. We're seeing Animoca get these huge investments. Like what greater shift for someone like this than to be king of the metaverse? It seems to make so much sense to me. So this might not happen overnight. In fact, I can guarantee you it won't. But why the hell not? Like it just seems like such an obvious play for LeBron. And I know I'm wearing a Lakers hat, but
and the man can play. That has been established. So. Obvious play. Let's go. Clonex to 8 million.
I guess so. I mean, I've never been a Clonex bull, but I mean, I'm placing a bet on the fact that this happens eventually. Doesn't feel like a bad bet, anyways. Though, like Clonex, Nike, like all of those things go up. It seems to. So, yeah, shopping around on the floor. Number go up. Yeah, it's 6 ETH on Clonex right now. Like that's not. That's barely higher than what it was just after mint before Nike made the announcement that they bought them, right? Isn't that the range we're in? Yeah.
Indeed. One last thing, R2, I wanted to bring up. Our friend Ghost did a collaboration with Sony Music.
I'll find him on Twitter.
In your Discord, I sent a couple links. The auctions are live right now. It is a Pantone Life, and I did send you the link for Pantone Life as well. This is the collection I think Ghost is most well known for, and these are very simple pieces of art made with Pantone swatches. If you're an artist or if you know how that works, Pantone is where you get all your colors from. It's where the names and the colors that you use in your work come from. He takes these swatches and he actually constructs anything from a simple piece of art up to some classic works. As you can see there, they have really gotten amazing since he first started doing this. This for Ghost was an exercise in simplicity. He wanted to see if he could make one piece of art every day while he had his coffee with breakfast. And that's when Pantone Life was created. And now you can see that he has done a collaboration with Sony Music. Now, to participate in the auction, you may either have to know a little German or get the translator on your browser working. But go check that out. He is an incredible artist. Music, NFTs, and hell. We don't know which one to click. We're sorry. I hope our German listeners, of which we know we have at least a few, go decode and check
transactions
that out.
on all for my MetaMask.
Now let's zoom out. After a big congratulations to Ghost, let's zoom out and talk about how this is a huge implication for the industry. You could see his work right there. Scroll down. The Pantone ones, which are the two heads, the two guys
looks like
next to each other. All right.
Is that who it is?
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think it's Al Pacino. Al Pacino. I believe it's the artists who are on this record. But again, let us zoom out and now talk about how this is just a big story that Sony Music is exploring NFTs right now. Throw it on the pile of things showing the mass market moves into our industry. And big congratulations to Ghost. Absolutely cool stuff. Go check it out.
Love it. Always loved his work, and just a straight up cool guy too. Like he's always a fun to talk to. Always had good interactions with him. He was the first NFT that I bought on ETH way back in the BitClout days when he made a profile picture for me, and that was a lot of fun. Back in my Clout Cobain days.
Oh, Cloudy.
Yeah. But yeah, he had like he had a BitClout profile where, you know, with a X amount dollar investment, he would do a profile picture for you, and if you so choose, you could buy it from him on ETH. So that was the first NFT that I bought, and
look at you now. Buying Clonex, they're nothing.
Well, yeah, well, we'll see how that works out. I mean, I'm not thinking it's going.
I predict big things in your future, and we'll certainly close the show by letting everyone know Ethereum is at $1,726. It reached a high of about $1,740 today. Been talking about it for a while. Go check the Twitter and the Substack. 1722 is a big level. I'm not surprised we are digesting and consolidating here at it. Ideally, this weekend, it's not going to be a retrace off 1722, but we blow right through it as La Merge. It is. We've said imminent a lot. It is a
couple days, right?
The next time we do this show, we are going to be.
Is it that soon?
Let's see, the 9th. It may be. I let's see, 10, 11, 12. It may be. It may.
I keep flip-flopping on this. Like, is it actually like a sell the news event, or like if it just goes live and it works, it's just like off to the races? Because and this is why I'm not trading it, because it terrifies me. Right? One shot saying next Thursday.
Well, I'm trading it. The only good thing is I've been long since 1480, so I have a little whatever. If I'm wrong, at least I'm not losing, right? Like if it knocks me back down and I fucked up the trade and I round trip, that'll suck. Right. But again, you know, I don't know. My concern is that this thing that I've been saying that the buy pressure changed and did it. Everyone knows that. So can you front? Is the market going to have already taken that out as a factor because markets are efficient.
I think the biggest reason why I flip-flopped on it, and I think pretty definitively the last time we were talking, I said it seemed like a sell the news kind of event, is that now Bitcoin's ripping, and I'm like, oh shit, like if crypto's just back, like game on, inflation comes in soft, you know, why not? If Bitcoin was still down like 2% on the 24-hour, I'd be like, okay, this is just the ETH narrative merge, great, but like, I don't know, it seems like there might be a shift, or it's just a big bull trap.
We will see. Well, I do think we are in a big bull trap that's going to end around 44 to 4,600, but it's a very big bull trap that is going to go much higher than people expect and make us feel very bullish.
Is that actually like what is doesn't that transcend what would constitute a bull trap? Isn't that just a bull run?
Well, honestly, you could zoom it out as much as you want, but here's the deal. We are in a technical bear market.
I guess.
Okay. Technical bull markets occur once we get over 20% gain, which actually would happen around 43.50, I think, or something like that on the S&P. It's definitely there in ETH. The thing is, it's like, yes, we're in a technical bull market in ETH, and we're down 50% on the year. So, you know, it depends. It's not about the hard definition of the word. It's understanding how the person you're discussing analysis with is using it in a relative manner. So, if we zoom out to the year and we see that we have had a violent bear market crash down 20%. And now we are moving back up and we haven't quite gotten back to those old highs. Anything that happens under the old highs could be a trap, just suckering people in to go even lower. So unless we got back above 4,800, you could call any move higher a bull trap if you zoomed out on a year-long basis. So I don't use RSI the way Hermano is talking about it. It is not a great oversold or overbought indicator because assets can stay overbought and oversold much longer than you can stay solvent. I mean, look at bull market. The market just stays oversold on daily, weekly basis for long periods of time. That said, I think RSI is a very valuable tool. And the way I use it is if the RSI is above 50, it confirms a bullish trend. If it's below 50, it confirms a bearish trend. Now, deciding whether it's a bullish or bearish trend in your mind, that's your work. Your bias, you have to figure out what plays into your bias. And that's kind of how I use RSI. I love RSI. I've just always used it a little differently. It's not that having the overbought or oversold reading can't help along with a pile of other stuff as the factor. But, you know, yeah, I've always loved RSI. So good shout out, Hermano.
What is RSI?
Relative strength indicator. So it's an indicator that's essentially showing, you know, either accumulation or distribution relative to price, right? Because depending on how liquid the market is, it takes less dollars to move something up or down. If a market is very, very liquid, you know it takes a lot of dollars to move the price. If the market is very illiquid, it takes less dollars to move the price the same amount. The RSI smooths that out for you a bit and basically shows you accumulation or distribution pressure happening kind of underneath the surface from price. That's what most indicators are kind of trying to do for you. The exact math the RSI uses to get there, go look it up. It's just a line on the chart for most people.
Yep, never traded that much in depth over here, so just learning. We're all learning.
Fun stuff. Good trading, yeah.
Lots of volatility and volume. Good for trading. Cool, man. What do you got going on this weekend? Anything crazy?
Nothing too nuts. Nothing too nuts. I'm hoping for nice weather. I would love to go grill with the family.
Ooh, that does sound good.
Right. I like grilling. Grilling meat always makes me feel One with
yeah, very primal, you know, just cooking on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it should be a good weekend. It's supposed to be nice here. I'm gonna try and get out for a round of golf somewhere somehow. We'll see if that happens. But other than that, got a busy day IRL over here.
We love the golf.
What's that? We
love the golf, both the game and the of Mexico.
Gulf of Mexico is all right too. It's all right too. I got to book. Yep. I got to book my. I don't know. I'm trying to decide flying or driving to New York, but we're trying to plan that out pretty soon.
Oh, did you get any replies in the thing? From,
yeah.
From
so we're referring to the Star Wolves meetup that we're trying to organize in New York. I think a couple like New York native type people did, but I think the biggest thing is, you know, we kind of said, let's hold off on setting a date and gather interest, but people need dates, right? Like so I think we just need to set it.
Yeah.
What's
Tinder
that?
proved that.
Yeah.
Tinder proved that.
Yeah, fair. So I think we're looking for sometime like early middle of October, somewhere in there. So you see me? You didn't R2, I see you, I didn't forget.
I don't know. Yeah,
I'm like, what did I do to One Shot?
I never forget.
Just remember, I'm here. I'm watching you. Yeah. Oh man, what did you not forget? The suspense is killing me. Yeah, he just One Shot has left the chat. Oh. I spent 4 hours talking to you on Moon Monday. What do you want? I know what you're asking. Don't worry, you'll get it. All right, we are going to wrap the show up. We will be back on next Tuesday, 9:30, same place, same YouTube channel. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for everybody that tuned in today. Appreciate it. If you didn't hit the like button and you feel inclined, always appreciated. Number go up is always fun. Wishing you all a great weekend. Should be a nice one. Hopefully it's nice where you are. You get some good DJing in or good family time, whatever you're looking forward to. I hope it comes true for you guys. We'll catch you next week. Elbow cough, One Shot. Just going crazy. He's talking to himself at this point. All right, guys. Love you. Thank you so much. Free market. Always a pleasure. Get us out of here.
Good luck at the tables, DJ.